This is the Oneplus Watch 3, and Oneplus have taken what was already a very good smartwatch, the Watch 2, and improved on it in a lot of ways, and some of which are not that obvious. And I'm making this video because I'm guessing that you're wondering what exactly have they improved from the Watch 2 to the Watch 3. Well, you're about to find out, and I'll tell you right now, there are a few new tricks that the Watch 3 has up its sleeve, which you can have up your sleeve if you're willing to spend an extra £80, because the price on the Oneplus Watch 3 on release date is £319, and the current price on the official Oneplus website for the Watch 2 is £239. And I will have official live links to all the current prices and deals and stuff like that in the description of this video if you want to check it out. So for the extra money, you do get a nicely designed circular watch. It's actually very similar in design to the Watch 2. You've got the stainless steel body, pretty much the exact same shape as the Watch 2. And just like before, we've got 2D sapphire glass across the top, which is very premium and very scratch resistant and probably didn't need upgrading anyway. But this time, Oneplus has added a titanium alloy bezel around the edges of the glass, which does add extra reinforcement to it and at the same time, arguably a more premium look. And just like all good smartwatches, the Watch 3 can take a few knocks, and it has an official IP68 and 5 ATM rating, as well as that military standard 810H certification, just like the Watch 2 had. So it is a pretty rugged watch, and I'm sure Chuck Norris would approve. So put simply, it's dust, water, shock, extreme heat and extreme cold resistant. And get this, it's even solar radiation resistant. So that does mean once AI starts using quantum computers and it decides it's time for Judgment Day, we might all get blown to smithereens, but at least the Oneplus Watch 3 will be all right. And just so you know, there are two color options available: the Obsidian Titanium, which has a stainless steel black casing and black titanium and black straps. And then there's this one, the Emerald Titanium, with the natural metal look and green straps. And of course, you can replace the watch straps and buy new ones. And they've got this nice little quick release system. So just like the Watch 2, the lower button placement is kind of blended in and hidden on the right side of the watch, on this kind of nice angular shape that it has. And then there's the second button. And this is actually the second design upgrade that you need to know about. If you look closely at the crown, there's a new pyramid pattern for better grip. And listen, I know you might be like, I don't care! And I get that. So if that doesn't impress you, maybe this will. The crown is clickable just like it was before, but now you can actually roll it around and use it for scrolling the UI. And there's a nice bit of haptic feedback to it as well, so it almost feels kind of mechanical. And if you didn't know, the Oneplus Watch 2 did have a rolling crown, but it didn't actually do anything. So this is a big upgrade. And check this out, there is one more thing you need to know about these buttons before we move on. And this is pretty interesting. That hidden lower button has a brand new all-in-one scan feature. And when you enable the ECG analysis feature on the watch, it can basically take an ECG reading and identify any health issues in just 30 seconds. But unfortunately, this feature isn't coming to the UK until later this year, but you can take regular ECGs right now. Around the back of the Watch 3, just like the Watch 2, we've got the charging points for the provided charging cradle, which just kind of clicks on like a piece of Lego. And here is actually where you will find some more of the less obvious upgrades. So there's a new glass used here on the back of the device and new LED materials, which is said to enhance the measurement accuracy of the sensors. And beneath the new glass, there's a new wrist temperature sensor. And then of course you've got the 8-channel heart rate sensor, as well as a 16-channel optical pulse oximeter sensor, which I do believe are the same ones used on the Watch 2. Okay, now this is the most significant and most visible upgrade on the Watch 3. It is the fact that the display is 0.1 inch larger. It's also 1200 nits brighter than the Watch 2 display, and it is LTPO just like before, so it can slow all the way down to 1 Hz to save power. So previously the Watch 2 was just 1000 nits. So the jump up to 2200 at its peak, which will only really kick in on a sunny day, is still a very big jump. And the size difference doesn't sound like a lot, but the reduction in bezel thickness is very noticeable to me, and it's a very nice upgrade in my opinion. And if you're wondering about the peak refresh rate, it is 60 Hz, just the same as the Watch 2, so no increase there. It would have been nice if it was 120, but the display is nice and smooth, and all the animations seem fluid and quick enough to me. So this one's a less visible upgrade. The Watch 3 uses polarized GPS antennas, which allows for a more stable satellite connection even when the watch is off axis or when you're running between tall buildings, for example. And this upgraded accuracy allows the watch to auto detect and auto start workouts better based off of how quickly you're moving, as well as other data points that the watch can read. And there is another big upgrade here to the GPS. So this watch, the Watch 3, uses a new GPS chip that reduces the power consumption when using GPS by 50%. And for those of you not so familiar with smartwatch tech, GPS can drain battery pretty quickly if you're using it all the time. Anyway, this brings me nicely onto power, because aside from the bigger display and some of the upgraded materials, it really is the extra power that you get on this device that could potentially convince you to spend a bit more money on it. Last year, the Oneplus Watch 2 boasted a 100-hour battery, and that was already impressive, but this year it's increased to 120 hours on the Oneplus Watch 3. But there is a little catch. That 120 hours is with the smart mode enabled, which it actually defaults to, which is not a bad thing. So the smart mode will actually hot swap between two operating systems, and it can do this without you even realizing it, so that's good. It will intelligently switch off the display and switch off the always on display and control the display brightness when the watch is in darker areas or tucked underneath your sleeve. And the smart mode can even hibernate certain software features when they're just not in use and not needed. And I do believe most people will be happy just to use this all the time. Now, if you do want the maximum performance from the watch, you can switch it off. And if you do this, you'll still get an impressive 72 hours of battery life. And then there is an endurance mode, which basically turns the Watch 3 into like a Fitbit, you know, one of those small trackers that can run forever. And in this mode, it can run for 16 days and still track your heart rate and your steps and all that kind of stuff. And when out of power, a quick 10 minutes charge can actually deliver 24 hours of power for the watch. So that's pretty impressive. So these are all marked improvements in comparison to the Watch 2. And the way that OnePlus has achieved this here is pretty interesting. Firstly, there's a new battery type. It's a silicon nano stack battery, the same type that's used in the OnePlus 13. And it's now 613 milliampere compared to 500 milliampere used on the Watch 2. And secondly, one of the two chips inside the Watch 3 has been upgraded. So just like before, we still have the Qualcomm Snapdragon W5 chip, and this does all the heavy lifting on the Google Wear OS 5 platform. But it's the second chip that's brand new, and it's called the BES 2800. And what this essentially does is it takes the less demanding tasks off of the Snapdragon's hands, and it runs it on its own operating system. And in doing so, it allows the Snapdragon CPU to be 200% more efficient, and at the same time it gives the Snapdragon chip an NPU boost of over 400%. So you know, that's for all the kind of neural processing AI stuff. And seriously though, this just means that the performance and the measurements and the watch's ability to understand what you're doing will be upgraded here. You get better speed, better accuracy, better processing power, and better overall performance when you need it. And then on the flip side, it uses less energy, less power when you're just chilling, and you're using less energy and less power. So it can intelligently match your lifestyle. So on the software side of things, you might be wondering if there are any differences here. Well, because they both run Wear OS 5, a lot of the features will be the same. And the watch does have NFC, so Google Pay is available here. That's actually had some upgrades recently, so you can add boarding passes and things now. You can take and make phone calls from the watch directly with its built-in mic and speakers. The speaker isn't the best that I've heard on a smartwatch, but it's definitely usable. You can store music and podcasts locally on the watch with its 32 gig storage. So you can do this via Spotify, for example, and it does have Bluetooth 5.2, so you can connect headphones or earbuds to the watch and leave your phone at home and go for a run if you wanted to. So that's all pretty standard stuff. But you do get some exclusive first-party OnePlus watch faces already installed on the phone, including a video watch face, which is quite nice. And you can add your own videos, but you have to kind of film little 5-second clips to use that. And of course, available to all Wear OS watches, you do get the Google Play Store, which means you do have access to maybe the best smartwatch app library out there. And then there is apps like Facebook eraser, which can allow you to download an insane amount of watch faces if you really wanted to. And there's always going to be new Wear OS features which will be available to both watches, the 2 and the 3. Things like SOS and Find My, and also the ability to snap photos using the watch as a kind of viewfinder. So that's kind of nice. So there are going to be new Wear OS updates, and eventually the Watch 3 might get an update the Watch 2 doesn't get because it's a year older. So that might be something to think about. But on the sports tracking side of things, you still get over 100 sports modes and 11 pro workout modes. And to keep track of all this stuff on your smartphone, you do need the Oneplus O Health app installed. This will give you all of that health data and insights that you'll probably ever need, and for some people that you probably never want to see. But it's there if you need it. So the reality is much of the software features will be the same on the Watch 3 compared to the Watch 2. But then of course there is that 60-second health check feature, which I mentioned earlier, which I do think could be very useful for certain people. And dare I say, it may even be potentially life-saving in some cases. So that might be something you want to pay more for. So now that you know the main differences and upgrades that OnePlus have made, for you personally, do you think it's worth spending the extra money for the OnePlus Watch 3? If so, let me know in the comments which feature was it that won you over? Or on the other hand, do you now think the better option is the Watch 2 or Watch 2R? One thing I will say about the comparison between the Watch 3 and the Watch 2R is the Watch 2R is a lot thinner and it's a little bit lighter, but it doesn't have all the upgrades which I mentioned in this video. So if you are leaning towards a more affordable option, let me know why. And before you go, you should probably know this. The OnePlus Watch is not compatible with the iPhone. And I'm guessing if you've watched this long into the video, you're an Android person anyway, so you'll be like, I don't care! Because Android, of course, gives you a bit more freedom. And in my opinion, when it comes to Wear OS smartwatches, this is definitely one of the best ones that I've looked at so far. So I hope you guys have got some value out of this video. If you did, a little thumbs up would be appreciated. And if you just subscribed, you're now one of the finest subscribers known to man. And if you are a OnePlus fan, check out this tips and tricks video that's on screen right now. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't be late.